This is the Engaging in the Angelic Realm. And here we have our guest today. We have our lovely, beautiful Dr. Melissa Sophia Joy with us. We have Michael Brown-Lee with us, and also our host, our director, Michael Ney. And so we may be having one more, Antoinette Sampson. Hopefully she'll be joining us. And if not, this is about, connection here. And I know that wherever she may be, she will be present with us in our hearts, right? So I send out love to her, whether she's joining us today or not. So a little bit of introduction. My name is Kat Devine. I am a psychic. I'm a medium or intuitive healer and a spiritual medium. That's really what I call myself, as a spiritual medium, which is connecting to the angels, the guides, our loved ones in spirit. It kind of encompasses a little bit of everyone in the realms, our unseen world. And so I'd like to introduce our amazing Michael Ney. He's a filmmaker and a digital media producer with 4 decades experience in creative projects. And so happy to be able to be part of this panel. And so I thank you so much. And I'd like to also have joining us today is Michael Brown-Lee. He is the founding abbot of the Monastery Academy for Conscious Evolution and Co-Creation, a virtual community of co-creators called into being to open pathways to the next stage of human evolution. He's currently conducting the first offering of a course called Wrestling with the Angel. Looking forward to hearing all about that. Next, we have Dr. Melissa Sophia Joy. She is the founder of Sophia Healing Academy and Somatic Awakening. She has been a licensed naturopathic doctor, mind, body, spirit specialist, and intuitive healer in practice for over 20 years. She has also been a teacher of consciousness, spirituality, energy medicine, and holistic studies for over 3 decades. She's an ordained oracle of the Council of One, priestess in the Magdalene Sophia tradition, a deeply committed spiritual practitioner, and a mystic. So much of what she is really resonates with my heart because I can feel every part of that. And I think we're twins in another lifetime here or something. So I would love to hand over the mic to Mr. Michael Ney today. And I'd love to hear a little bit about how you started here and created Beyond Being Human. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Kat. So Beyond Being Human, you say that I created it. Well, no, it actually came from inspiration from an angelic encounter that I had about 6-7 years ago now, which was a huge surprise, totally out of the blue, and rocked my world, to say the least. But as I kind of explored more about angels, which also related to extraterrestrials, and I came through someone else asking me, well, maybe stay open to the idea that it could have been an extraterrestrial. And that question, was it an angel, was it an ET, has led me on this voyage of discovery about everything. And what I've found now is that I'm getting steady stream of little images and messages and songs sometimes, and different things, and little visions even, and heart connections when I'm watching different people on videos in interviews and things. And many of them, most of them, if I feel to invite them into what Beyond Being Human is growing into, they say yes. And so through the last year especially, I've been working on a script and got an outline for all of the different topics, and that will be talked about a lot further. But the key thing now is what I initially thought was investigating extraterrestrials and that whole ufology and everything to do with that is actually not the case. It's all about awakening our divine spark, and that even the ETs and all of creation is part of the divine everything. We are all one. It has given my life the absolute depth of meaning and growing into cosmic consciousness, that feels like it's an evolution for what Christianity was into a whole new expanded understanding of our galactic family. And that's really what Beyond Being Human is all about.
Thank you so much, because again, I feel that same thing. It's like we finally became awake, at least I did. And that shift was humongous. It was just like it changed my life. So I absolutely can resonate with the angel presented to you, and it shifted your life completely. And I absolutely can relate to that. Thank you so much for creating Beyond Being Human, even though you say you have not created. Without you, it wouldn't be here. I think we'd be off and doing something else. So I really am so grateful to be part of this experience with you. There's a real big difference between feeling what we would call as that 3D reality, that heavy vibration, that low vibration, and being more awake. And then you just feel lighter and everything seems to open up. The whole world around you seems to open up and your heart really expands. And when it expands, then you can be able to connect to these beautiful angels, your guides, your loved ones in spirit, the ETs, because we are all one. But when you are really closed with your heart, it becomes contracted, right? And so when you're contracted, you don't get to feel that love within you. And so for me, that's really how my life changed substantially, is when my heart opened and I became so much more aware, even though I had those nudges all through growing up and I could see spirit here and there, but my heart wasn't open at the time to let them in. And the moment you let them in, when you open your heart up and you let those guides and those angels who are always there, it's the awareness. When you finally open up to the awareness that we are all one and everything is available to you, they're always there to protect you. They're always there to guide you and serve you in any manner that you're needing. And that's why we have to call to them and talk to them. They are present with us at all times. I really wanted to kind of hear a little bit about the background that you had prior before the shift happened. What was your day-to-day, journey like? And then how, when did this occur to you? Did it just come into your mind and say, this is what I have to do? Or was it a long process for you?
I could probably talk for hours about all of that, but very specifically, after the experience, I called Mary Rodwell, who I'd only just met, and most of our audience would know of her, an amazing researcher and a wonderful being, human. And she was the one who said, well, keep in mind, it could have been an extraterrestrial. So that sent me on a journey through YouTube and books and talking to people and like really exploring all of that. Not so much about angels, more about like, okay, what is this galactic family and what are all of the different extraterrestrials? About a month later, I can actually remember the moment moving from my bedroom to my office, which wasn't a very long walk. I energetically, I just felt like stop, take notice. And I remember I turned to the wall. I couldn't see any particular being, but in my mind's eye was like, boom, the words beyond being human were there as a sphere of thought, I guess, or something. I mean, people call it a download. And from that, my first reaction, well, what's that mean, beyond being human? What? And I started to get messages about, well, all of that research that you've been doing, find a way to present that to people who don't know anything about it. And that is now kind of the mission of Beyond Being Human, to reach wider than the usual kind of audience, so like to try and take these ideas and or experiences into the mainstream. But now for me, as I was saying, it's all becoming like an exploration of divinity and the angelic kingdom and how it does work personally with each and every one of us. it's a very joyful and supportive thing, because the way things are unfolding in terms of the whole production and people coming into working with me, and that has just been incredible. And I make mistakes and other people get upset, and we have to sort of learn to be human. And so this process for me is learning about being beyond human so that I can cope with the whole kind of thing. And it's a very, very big, ambitious project, but I won't go on.
Thank you so much. And I love what you said, exploration of divinity. So I love that. That really is what we're here for, exploration of divinity, who we really are, and it's becoming aware of our divinity. I'd love to hear from Melissa. Melissa, please tell us all about who you are, what your journey is all about. And yes, please share. Thank you.
Thank you, Kat. And I'm so delighted to be here. Thank you, Michael, for inviting me. I feel very honored to be here. I'll just start with my history with angels, because that's what we're talking about. And I'll, share a little bit more about what I'm doing and what I'm up to in relationship to that. When I really first started to tap into my inner divinity, my connection with spirit on a great level, which really started as a child, I could feel and sense energy, Holy Spirit, Jesus, angels as a child. I was also raised in the South. And so I'll just say the Southern Baptist Church put a certain slant on it. And it did close my heart for quite a long time. And so as I made the journey of opening my heart and connecting into what actually is, which was a really, really powerful connection to spirit on many different levels. One of the first levels of beings that came to me were angels. And I started communicating with them on several different levels. And we'll talk about how to communicate with angels later on. But there were several different ways that I was connecting in, and finding that as I connected in, I was experiencing this incredible healing. And then I would have sessions with my friends or other people that were connected to me, not even like paid sessions. This was way before I was a naturopathic doctor. And the angels would give them all this information and they would experience healing. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? Really, what it led me into was a whole level of experience and connection to the mystical realms. And the angels have still continued to play a huge role in my life and in the lives of the people that I work with, and have really, really helped in so many different levels. It's hard to actually articulate. I'll just say this. This is one of the biggest things that they do. They go out ahead. And when we ask them to go out ahead and to connect with the ways that are in alignment with our highest good, so that our highest good flows with ease and grace, this is one of the greatest things that angels can do. And of course, there are so many other things: healing, connection with the divine, awakening, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to get more into that as we go into the panel. But a little bit more about me. As Kat said, I'm a naturopathic doctor, but really I have many different hats. I'm a spiritual counselor, I'm a mind-body medicine practitioner. And through my own experience of going through the dark night of the soul for a very, very long time, which the angels, hallelujah, they were there to help me through that process. But also through that process, I had incredible connection with Yeshua. Some people call him Jesus, as well as Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary, coming in and really teaching me some profound mystical healing and awakening experiences that really absolutely changed my life forever. And then I started sharing that with my patients and the people that I work with. Their lives started being changed in this powerful, powerful way. And then it was just the next obvious steps to start teaching that. So I teach this modality, this mystical healing spiritual modality called Somatic Awakening. Sophia Healing Academy is connected to that. But underlying it all, the angels are supporting the whole process. Right. So I think that's enough for now. You get a sense of who I am. Again, I'm so delighted to be here.
Yes, we have so much to share here. And but I would like to speak to Michael and just kind of get a little bit of background about you as well. Thank you, Michael, for being here.
Hi, it's great to be here with you all. So, by way of very brief introduction, several years ago, I began to be aware that there has been this profound and very active angelic presence in my life from the very beginning, perhaps even before this lifetime. And the more I looked, the more curious I got about it, the more I could see how they've been quietly engaged in my life all along, gently and lovingly intervening in the most mysterious ways, and discovering this, that they were central in my life, was just a huge surprise, very humbling and very awe-inspiring. And so my background is as a journalist, especially an investigative journalist, and I'm also I've been a writer for most of my life. So I have been exploring all this with great curiosity. And so in much the same way, we're now learning that the evolution of life and consciousness on this entire planet has long been guided by the angelic presence. These angels of evolution have been central in the human story from the very beginning, though mostly unknown. I think of this as the human project, and it's their project. They're the agents, we could say, of the ordering sacred intelligence of the universe. And they are now revealing themselves to us more than ever before in history, and guiding us into our destiny. And they even tell us now, you are becoming what we are. So for me, this time in the early 21st century is the very moment in human evolution when we as a species must come to terms with this angelic presence. Because, for one thing, Homo sapiens now faces a high likelihood of extinction, or at least the premature and or curtailment of our evolutionary potential. So the stakes are very high, and the situation is urgent. And so realizing all of that led to, as you mentioned, Kat, the emergence of what we call the Monastery Academy for Conscious Evolution and Co-Creation. And I'll talk more about that later, but that's enough for now. Great to be here with you all.
Well, thank you, Michael. Yes, and I have many questions for you as well. Let's go with Melissa and ask you, who do you speak to primarily, and how do you connect to a certain angel, or do you have a whole group of them that you work with? Yes, so please share. Thank you.
It's honestly hard to answer because I talk to a lot of different angels. I'm constantly connecting to what's known as the Akashic Record. So that is we could call it the place where wisdom and information is stored. And from that place, I will very often connect to specific angels. And the archangels, I connect with them quite a bit. Archangel Michael, Raphael, Uriel, Gabriel, Shamiel, Zadkiel. We're going to talk about who all those beings are in a moment, as well as the seraphim. Those are the ones who I have the closest relationship with. And so very often they're the ones that come in and share different information. Sometimes they share information about the people that I'm working with. Sometimes they will come in a session and say, we have a transmission for this person. So my job as a mystic is to just stay open to the vibration, the healing, the clarity, connecting, and continue to connect and stay in this high vibration of what I call the law of one, the law of unity consciousness, so that the channel is clear. And so whether it's an angel, I also work a lot with ascended masters or other beings who are of a similar but different vibration. And I think the bottom line is that I'll just say that there are so many higher dimensional beings, angels included, as well as ascended masters and universal higher dimensional guides who are here helping humanity right now. And just as Michael Brownlee said it a moment ago, the angels, they have been here since the beginning. They are holding space for us, both in the sense of humanity as well as a sense of Earth itself and all beings on the planet. And they are absolutely connected to us. But the primary thing that I have found in communication with them is that they're always guiding, they're always holding space, they're always nurturing. And if we ask them to help us in a specific way, then they can very much help us in that specific way. Because unless there's a need for divine intervention, which happens sometimes, you'll hear all these amazing stories about an angel. I saw an angel. I was getting ready to die. My car was tipping over, right? Divine intervention. However, in our day-to-day life, they really honor our free will. So they're not going to intervene specifically unless we ask them. So it's really important, if you don't have a connection with angels yet, it's really important to nurture that connection through prayer, through connection, and other ways that you can communicate with them.
Thank you. I absolutely agree with you, Melissa, was the asking part. It's so interesting because the moment I started to ask, things really started to happen for me. The connection was there because I know this is, I say it like this. If you're walking down the street and across the street, maybe a lady's walking and she happens to drop her purse or something, you're not going to just rush over there and pick it up because it would be imposing, right? But if she asked for help, you would absolutely say, of course, I will help you. That's the connection. That's the difference. So unless you're really in high need or something, it's about free will. And so, yes, they do help us. They are absolutely helping us at all times in all different levels that we're maybe not even be aware of. But the moment you ask for help is the intention that they are there for you in the way that you're asking. I didn't even realize that, even though I was brought up Catholic, but it didn't really resonate with me. And so as I moved into my own reality of being a teenager and everything else, I kind of got away from it all until the spirituality opened up. And when that spirituality opened up, I really started feeling more of a connection. And then I realized to ask. The asking is the number one thing I say. And so thank you for sharing that. I totally believe that to be true. And people forget it's actually, asking for help. I think it's been ingrained in us. And certainly for me growing up, it's like, you don't ask for help. You help others, but you can do it yourself. You don't need to ask for help. I think that goes across the board for a lot of people is how to ask, especially people who are of service, who are energy workers. And, we're always trying to do something for somebody else, but we try to be the strong one so we don't ask for help. So it's imperative that we do. We have to nurture ourselves, take care of ourselves, fill our own cup, let it overflow to help others. And so with that process, you do need to ask for help. When you're working with a client, do you call in a specific angel or to work with that person? Or again, is it a group? And do you find that the people that you work with, there's different angels for different people or for the modality or what you're doing with them, that there is the need from the client?
Really good question. So, I've been a healer for over 20 years, probably similar to you, Kat. So, things evolve over time. And I probably had about 10 years where every time I would do a setup, I would call in, the 5 major archangels, Michael, Raphael, Uriel, Gabriel, and Metatron. And in those sessions, very often one of them would come in, depending on who I was working with, depending on if the person was open to it. Sometimes it would come in a group. Sometimes all of a sudden we would be in this high realm of angels with 100 angels there because there needed to be a divine intervention into this person's life at that time. So now it's my sessions have changed just a little bit. I call in divine support on all levels. Sometimes I'll still call in angels. And now really what happens, because my sessions are all over the place. Like on one end, I'm talking about, my session at 10:45, I'm talking about a lab and physiology. And then by the time I get to my 2:45 sessions, we're talking about the Akashic records and what the archangels are saying and a past life experience, right? So they come in this free-flowing way. And yes, there are some ascended masters and archangels that are very connected to what that person is working with right then. And that's what I've really found, is that if there's a specific vibration or need that a specific ascended master or archangel or angel in general has, then they're going to come in and they're going to transmit it through words, through energy, through intuitive information, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, they still play a huge role in all that I do. And, there are a couple of archangels specifically that are completely connected to somatic awakening, which, they're supporting and nurturing the whole field, because it's all connected into the bigger flow of the work that we're doing together.
Thank you. I have a question though. First of all, what is the history? Because I hear there's a story that I'd love to hear about with your history with the angels.
Right. The history with angels. Yes. I'm going to take a quick sip of water for this one. So a little backstory. I was talking to Michael a few weeks ago, and I had just been on another panel, and he was telling me about the angel panel coming up. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have this story to tell you. And I did not intend to share that story to then share it on the panel, but I just got this huge flow of divine energy, like, it's time to share the story. And I was like, okay, it's time for me to go public, I guess. So the story goes like this. As I said before, I've always had a strong connection to the angels. They were the first beings that really showed up in a non-physical form, right? In terms of me connecting in a mystical level. And I was in a session with this amazing healer a couple of years ago. And the way that she does sessions, and especially with, she works with a lot of healers and a lot of intuitives. And so she will open this space, and then you take that next step, and then she'll open the space more. And then you take that next step in the sense of what's coming and what's here, and what are you actually connecting into. And so what happened is that she opened the space really, really deeply. And I'm not going to go into all the specifics of how she did that, but in essence, what happened is that I realized, oh, I'm now on a different planet. I'm not quite sure who I am, but I can remember myself in a past, very, very, very distant past life on a different planet. And so she said, well, what are you doing? What is your work? What is your soul's work? And I was like, well, my soul's work is to nurture the heart of the galaxy, and the heart of planets, and the heart of stars, and the hearts of, other beings throughout the galaxy. And so she just kept on asking questions. And what ended up happening is that I realized that I was a part of a tribe of seraphim. And at that time, I didn't even know exactly 100% what that word deeply, deeply meant. I knew it was some level of angel. And then as we moved further in that session, all of a sudden, I realized that the planet explodes. We were in the Lyra system. The planet explodes. I had no idea what happened. There was incredible grief and sorrow because this planet exploded. And I realized that because this happened, that my soul was then put on a journey of a certain trajectory to go out and then come back in to remember what I knew in that lifetime. So after this happened, my mind didn't know what to think of it. And my heart was exploding with love. I was actually in this very awakened state for a few days. And my mind still wanted to figure out what was going on. And so what I did is I went to the only place that I knew at that time where we could find out information like this. If you haven't discovered the Ascension Glossary from Lisa Renee, I highly recommend that you check that out. It has a lot of information about the deep history that we're not told about the Earth and our galaxy. So I typed in Lyra, and this is another piece I forgot to mention. During the session, what I got was Orion Wars. And I knew Orion, but I didn't understand anything about the Orion Wars. And I was like, well, that doesn't even make sense because this is not an Orion, right? This is Lyra. So anyway, I typed in Orion Wars, Lyra, planet exploding. And then all of a sudden this information pops up. In the Orion Wars, there was a planet in Lyra that was exploded because the Orions came into Lyra and they exploded this planet. And I was like, okay, all right. So now I'm just going to let this information settle, and how do you let this information settle? Well, I have had to figure it out, definitely not from an ego place. But what I've discovered now is that really this is teaching me on a very, very high level of how to merge my will with thy will, because that's really what's happening with the angels. They are in a place of unified wholeness with the Logos, with the cosmic consciousness of Creator. And so this information, this memory, the feeling, sensing, knowing tone of it is really just helping me more and more and more to kind of speed up my awakening process and unity consciousness. And, thy will merged with my will. So it's a learning process, and I'm still in it for sure, but I am so incredibly, incredibly grateful because a lot more information and awakening and understanding is coming now.
That's so amazing. It's like, I just feel like you are connected purely to the divine of who you really, truly are, which encompasses everyone and everything.